This video is brought to you by Keeps. Stick around to hear more about the discount that they are offering to our entire community. Also, this video is available ad-free in an audio podcast form on locals.com to monthly subscribers. It's basically Patreon but better and allows people to support the channel if they so choose. In addition, my entire content library is available on Odyssey, which is a YouTube alternative for those that want to try out a new platform. Links are down below. Alright, so the Call of Duty Cold War beta has run a couple of different sessions now, and having played the game quite a bit, I wanted to do an impressions video on the topic. At least, that's what I wanted to do at first. The thing is, Call of Duty is just Call of Duty. What is there to really analyze about the gunplay? What is there to really say about this game that hasn't been said 15 times in the past about most of its previous iterations? What can I really analyze about the title based on a few multiplayer modes? And would it even really matter? It's pretty obvious people buy COD every single year regardless of what they do or how they innovate. Instead of discussing the game in a typical way, such as hitboxing, map design, etc., plenty of people are doing that as well. You can check out any number of reviews from COD pros and people that are more prominent in the community, but I want to analyze the concept of threading a needle. When you have an audience that has formed, over the course of nearly 2 decades, a distinct impression of what the game should be, while simultaneously being expected to transform and innovate. The reality is, Call of Duty developers, regardless of what studio takes the reins for each particular iteration, are expected to make the game different because no one likes a truly obvious reskin, but they are also expected to preserve the long-standing enjoyment and replicate certain mechanical systems because that gameplay has cultivated such a strong and loyal following. Diverging from it could kill the franchise outright, if we're being honest. In essence, each new Call of Duty release is like threading a needle. Change too much and you get something like Infinite Warfare. People hated it. Change too little and you end up with Call of Duty Ghosts. Different problems, same sentiment. Of course, I'm overgeneralizing just a bit here. Some people loved Infinite Warfare and Ghosts, but from every indication I could find, these were two of the least popular Call of Duty entries for distinctly opposite reasons. One changed far too much, one changed far too little, and that kind of razor's edge is the concept I really want to focus on for today. Call of Duty Cold War, in my opinion, is in a very good place to succeed within that mindset. However, as with any beta and honestly any AAA game these days, that could obviously change. Before going further, are you balding, angry, sad, and alone? Because that's not good. Keeps can help you with the balding part, which might help with the sad part, which will probably help with the alone part, and that might fix the anger. Basically, Keeps can solve everything for you because it helps you maintain and even regrow hair. You don't have to leave your house. You can get a prescription online and then have it delivered right to your door. And the best part, you can get 50% off your first order by visiting the link down below or going to keeps.com/UEG. 2 out of 3 men experience hair loss before they're even 35, caused by stress, caused by playing Call of Duty on console because the frame rate is ass and someone is always hot micing in every single damn lobby. But the point is, Keeps is the solution, with more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors, and you can get 50% off your first order at the link down below. Big thank you to them for sponsoring the channel. So why is Call of Duty Cold War in a superior position compared to many previous iterations? Well, honestly, it has little to do with the gameplay and much more to do with a thematic atmosphere. In my opinion, the gameplay is fully and completely expected. It's basically what we've had for years, hanging on to whatever mechanisms helped previous games and modes succeed, such as the similarities and influence drawn from Warzone in their new mode Dirty Bomb, without changing too much or taking drastic action and putting us in space with jetpacks and wall running, acrobatics, or whatever else. The themes, though, despite the fact that I have not played and cannot speak to the main campaign story itself, have more contemporary ties than many people would care to admit. It all comes back to that one trailer, that one 2-minute teaser which platformed Yuri Bezmenov, a Soviet propaganda agent who defected to the West and constructed a bridge between this game and current social political tension. To some, that's a very bad thing. For certain media voices and creators, any real-world implication at all or connection between the warnings of Yuri Bezmenov, who outlined subversion tactics that would take decades to blossom, and the current riots and protests across the world, because it is not in fact localized to just the United States. Many other countries have seen protests of a similar nature, though admittedly nowhere near as frequent or as destructive. But anyways, certain people believe that any connection at all being drawn between the conspiracies, as they call them, of Yuri Bezmenov and current political or social movements is harmful, destructive, prejudicial, and a whole slew of other isms and phobics. However, what a lot of people are missing is that gaming, and more specifically a kind of counterculture that exists widely in the demographic that consumes Call of Duty, has a propensity to gravitate towards things that they perceive as being taboo. Now, I don't mean the literal definition of taboo, and I don't really mean it in a severe way, but there is a psychological phenomenon called reactance, where human beings, especially teenagers and young men, who comprise the overwhelming majority of the entire Call of Duty fanbase, by the way, will deliberately gravitate towards the exact opposite action or sentiment to what you declare as being right or expected. In the past, Call of Duty was threading a needle outside this kind of major political spotlight. I'm making an assumption here that the spotlight will grow brighter as we approach release day, and especially as we experience the contents of the single-player campaign, provided it in any way continues to reference the warnings of Yuri Bezmenov and the subversion tactics meant to destabilize a nation. But if that spotlight does grow, and the articles such as this one, right here, for example, Ronald Reagan sends you to commit war crimes in the latest Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War trailer, which even ends with the lines, "It's a good thing Reagan is here to reassure us, the players, that what we're doing is in fact good, or else Call of Duty fans everywhere might get the wrong impression about America's role in geopolitical conflicts around the globe. Can't have that happening," end quote. If articles like that become more common, with the dripping sarcasm and anti-American rhetoric, the only thing it will do is create an unconscious, possibly even conscious fan base purely based on the perceived fight against anyone liking the game. However, that's really just more of a foot in the door. The concept of reactance might play off of an enraged media who wish to condemn anything that could even be remotely defined as critical of their activism, but that concept will only go so far, because once players are in the door, the game has to keep them there. That's when things like skill-based matchmaking come into play, which has already caused issues where some players were just repeatedly dying on purpose to reduce their internal matchmaking score. The result was that you could fight against players who were comparatively lower in their skill level, and thus probably enjoy the matches more than if everyone was just constantly gunning you down. But that kind of intentional negligence ruins games on both sides of the action. Once, as you intentionally die over and over, again as you operate in a skill zone outside the bracket you actually belong to. Good news, there have already been steps made to fix that, but far more important than the actual gameplay itself, provided they don't just royally screw it all up and create something broken, which they clearly haven't, far more important are the surrounding systems and the cultural atmosphere. This is not true for most games. In many titles, I would champion the idea that mechanical gameplay above all else is the only thing that matters, but when a game franchise like Call of Duty has existed with so many iterations for so many years, the focus begins to somewhat shift. The player base does not really seem to respond all that well to radical shifts, and even when those radical shifts are somewhat successful, they get reverted in following entries. This puts us in a weird position where Call of Duty does not really change all that much, and also doesn't have very much competition. In light of these gameplay decisions not really having as much impact as they would with a fresh intellectual property, what becomes the default? The answer is atmosphere and theme. When the franchise transitioned into space, people cried out for boots on the ground Call of Duty to return. Cold War sits precisely in that bullseye, and on top of it, every single time an article comes out that says, "Call of Duty trailer recklessly promotes far-right conspiracy theory," like the article Kotaku wrote, with further lines such as, "The term more recently gained popularity in gaming circles thanks to, what else, Gamergate, the specter of cultural Marxism is routinely conjured to decry anything that doesn't adhere to the straight, white, cis-male perspective that has dominated the video game industry for decades, such as the introduction of female playable characters in Battlefield 5 and LGBTQ+ representation in The Last of Us Part 2. Seeing Bezmenov promoted by Call of Duty in such an uncritical way feels like a winking acknowledgement of those bullshit complaints. Every time an article like that gets written, it only serves to increase the interest in the game. Except, as per Kotaku's own reporting based on the findings of Quantic Foundry, the demographic breakdown of gaming gender by category indicates that only 7% of first-person shooter players are women. There is limited data on race and sexual orientation, but the point is, if the media cycle continues to demonize the game purely on thematic choices, indicating that those choices are meant to cater to the overwhelming demographic majority of its actual literal player base, as per all existing research and data, they will not only be advertising that the game has withstood invasive influence that many gamers actually despise, they will be amplifying the effects of reactance. It all comes down to this. Call of Duty is so well established, it would take a monumental shift in order to shake its core audience even slightly. That type of radical change probably won't happen ever, unless their hand is forced with no other possible outcome or alternative. As a result of this, the game's success and popularity begin to hinge on other aspects. And though someone somewhere probably believes that condemning the game as a far-right, wrong-think, Gamergate fantasy will somehow curb its popularity, the truth is precisely the opposite. Call of Duty Cold War is threading a needle. Don't change too much, don't change too little, and so long as they do it right, the game will find success based on a myriad of surrounding factors. It is my steadfast opinion that Cold War is about to succeed, and not only that, succeed with fireworks and spectacular results. If you hate Call of Duty, that may seem obnoxious and irrelevant and worthless, but given the unique nature of this franchise with so little other examples to compare to, I thought it was an interesting topic. A game can succeed based largely on everything except its gameplay, and that very much intrigues me. But that's it. If you want to support, there are links down below. 50% off keeps for your first order, merch, locals, Odyssey, as well as another gaming YouTuber to check out, but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.